Hello, hello. Is everybody coming in yet? If anybody could just pop in the chat, let me know if you're here. I see 11, 12 participants. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first official live event with Adored Beast founder Julie Ann Lee. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It means so much more to us than you would know. Let us know where you're from and who's all here. Oh, I see Donna Middleton. Hi, Julie. Darcy. Hi, Julie. Joy from SoCal. Darcy's in Michigan. Hi, Tara. Tara is here from Calgary. All kinds of people. We have yeah, we have Donna from London. Donna Frizzell. Yeah, hi, Donna. And Tracy from Glacier Street. Hi. Oh my, Donna says it's snowing in Winnipeg. Holy cow. Yeah. Who is V40 Thin Q? I'm not sure who that is, but hi, they're in Northern New York. Yeah. Sandra from New Brunswick. Hey, right close to you. Oh, and there's Peter. Peter's here too, and Charissa. Hi, everybody. Dorinda, it's so nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. We're just going to wait for more people to come in. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going on tonight. Tonight is our very first Ask Julie Anything. So please add your questions to the Q&A section of the event. That's where we'll be monitoring and answering questions from. So, oh, who's this? Oh, Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Good. Lori from Wisconsin and Jamie. Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's just see how many people we have here. We have 41 participants. Oh, we have 2 people with raised hands. So we will, I'm just going to pass it over to Julie right now, and she's going to start with the questions. Hey, Julie, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good.
That's good. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna just sort of brief everybody. I'm kind of fuzzy a little bit. I'm out on my porch, so I was hoping that it wouldn't, because I probably have the most light out here because it's getting dark already, but I am a little bit fuzzy still. But first thing I want to say is hi to everybody. And I hope everybody's well and staying safe, and everybody's spirits are staying up as much as they possibly can with everything that's going on. And I've been wanting to do something like this for a really long time. I've been talking about doing a podcast for such a long time. I know this isn't a podcast, but I'm hoping what it's going to be is something like that I hope it evolves into that. But not what I really love about doing it this way is I'm trying to bring a community together. And I always have historically in my life, every time something bad happens, it usually, for whatever reason, pushes me to do something that I've wanted to do for a while. And when the whole Corona thing started, I was doing some lives about it, and what it's done now is just what it did is it pushed me to talk to my community. And my whole life I feel really grateful right now, because I really haven't felt like I've had a strong community or really fit in anywhere. And like literally when I had this idea, I reached out to some people in the community that lecture a lot. And I didn't know whether anybody was going to want to do this with me, because what I'm hoping to do is I'm going to kick this off by myself, and then every every time we do another one, which might even be every week during this time, I'm going to have a guest. And the amount of guests that I put out there, I just put it out there, went, hey guys, you know, do you want to do this with me? I really feel like right now we need something that's really uplifting. We need something that's free so that people don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for it. It's almost like I feel like I want to have tea with everybody, that I want to just sit down and hang out with everybody and just talk to everybody and give everybody the opportunity of talking to some pretty powerful people in this community, like they're in their living room or sitting on the porch or something like that, and really get the sense and the energy that we're all here to support everybody, not just in general, but in this time, but hopefully for a long time after. I hope this is one of many things that we do. And I just wanted to say I was like really excited. I'll just tell you a few people that are going to be on here with me. My friend Rodney Habib, founder of Planet Paws, my good friend Karen Becker, Dr. Isla Fishburne, founder of the Kachina Canine Wellness, Billy Hochman, the Answer Pet Nutrition Science Director. Billy and I have a hoot together. Ian Peterson, about CBD. He's a scientist and expert on CBD. My friend Sarah Griffith, who's an equine nutritionist, which I'm really excited about, because if I'm doing this on my own now, I can actually do cats and dogs and horses, and I've got scientists coming on that I'm doing my cancer research with, and it just warmed my heart so much, and it made me feel like, yes, this is what this is just what we're supposed to be doing now. We're supposed to all just be gathering around and having tea and talking with each other. So I have more people that are going to be on here with me every week, and it's just so exciting for me. And I'm hoping all you guys are going to be really excited about it too. And it really is an ask me anything. So you can ask me anything. I'm trying not to make it about products. I'm trying not to make it about anything. Like I said, there's no subscription for this. There's no signing up for this. There's nothing. There's like absolutely nothing attached to this at all. And so when it's ask me anything, it really is asking me anything. So I guess Kaylin will get going and we can start the questions.
Well, I have a really interesting one here from Tracy. So Tracy says, one of the veterinarians I work with has a patient who loves carrots. Why do we see whole carrots in their stool?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
I told you.
I always talk about, because I've talked about this lots of times. I've actually used that as an example of the length and the ability of dogs to break down cellulose. Us to break cellulose down. Can you hear me? Because it just said my internet connection. Am I good?
Yeah, you were a little funky, but you're good now.
Okay. All right. So I always would say the best way for us to get our beta carotene and all of our nutrients from food is to eat a whole carrot and chew on a carrot. And then by the time it goes through our intestine, we slowly break it down and absorb it, because we can digest the fiber. We use the fiber as prebiotics. But with dogs and carnivores, their guts are so short that they're meant to eat their vegetation through the gut of their prey. So if they're eating, let's say deers don't eat carrots, but let's say a deer ate a carrot, or a rabbit eats a carrot, or something like that, or vegetation. When the dog or the cat eats that prey, so when they eat the rabbit or the mouse or whatever, they're eating it pre-digested. So they're getting digestive enzymes. The food is already broken down in the gut. So when they're eating just carrots as a treat, it just comes in and goes straight out, because they don't have the length and the pH and they just don't have the digestive tract to break it down. like a herbivore does. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so Donna Frizzell says, Julianne, are you hiring?
You know what? Maybe we're gonna have to have this massive herb commune here on
Yes,
my farm. Maybe, Donna.
that would
Keep
be.
watch on our.
Okay, so another question from River. Sorry, River, not sure if that's a he or she, but I'll say she. I just adopted a senior greyhound from the US and she has hookworm. Wondering what you think is the best way to get rid of them.
Well, those are nasty. Um, you know that I don't like drugs, but I feel there's always a place for drugs. I think with, so long as for sure that she has them, that she's been diagnosed with them, I would probably say, I mean, there's lots of really intense herbs that you can use, like different kinds of herbs, but they can be really detrimental to the lining of the gut. And you know what I'm like with gut linings and leaky gut syndrome and bowel health and stuff. Probably if you just got her, what I would do is make sure that her immune system is really, really strong. Get her on a super good quality food. Make sure that you're feeding her lots of antioxidants, and then support her liver and her kidneys with things like milk thistle and all the different herbs for her supportive for her detoxification. Make sure she's on amazing probiotics and prebiotics, good food, and then I would probably worm her. And while she's being wormed, I would actually give her a homeopathic remedy called Nux vomica 30C, and I would give that to her once a day while she was on the wormer, and probably for another 5 to 7 days after. And definitely throughout that entire period, make sure that you maintain the liver support, and her, you can even feed things like fulvic and humic acid, which helps to draw out toxins, because not only is the drug toxic, but hookworms can actually be quite toxic, and especially when they're starting to die. So that type of worm would probably be a time that I would actually do a drug, do a wormer. I can see someone said, what does Nux vomica do? Well, homeopathic Nux vomica works for a detoxification for poison, for chemicals. That Nux vomica would be given with anything, as a supportive treatment with an animal that has ingested toxins or walked through toxins and then licked their feet. Whereas arsenicum is more for toxins from food poisoning and bad food and bacteria. Nux vomica is predominantly to help the body detoxify from chemical poisoning. You're welcome.
Okay. So while we're talking about homeopathic remedies, Peter has a question. He said, can a homeopathic remedy cause a dog to throw up? Gave Shadow the neuter remedy and he threw up shortly after. He had it last month with no issue, as far as I can tell.
I can't imagine that remedy doing that. I mean, you can never, in any kind of medicine, homeopathic, conventional, or Vedic, TC, like you can never say never, and you can never say no, that will never happen, because every single person, every single animal is an individual. But I have used that for a very long time, and if I might say yes if it got it and it wasn't neutered, right? So you're giving the energy of testicle, or testosterone and aldosterone and things like that. You're giving that energy to something that already has it. if it wasn't neutered, I would maybe say, oh, well, you never know, maybe that, you know, it obviously doesn't need it if it hasn't been neutered. But if you're giving it to a neutered dog, I can't imagine how that would happen.
Okay, we have another homeopathic question here from Karen. She says, is there a homeopathic remedy for hypothyroid? And what would you do for a 55-pound Siberian husky? Sorry.
So no, I can't. There is not a homeopathic remedy for, like, specifically just for that. We at our clinic, we found the remedies that worked really well with hypothyroidism was things like nat mur and phosphorus, and a remedy called thyroidinum, which is a remedy made from thyroid gland. But what I was going to say is that I've seen a lot of dogs revert with hypothyroidism. I don't know what the dog's on. I don't know what its history is. I don't know what, you know, I don't know how old it is or anything like that. But the amount of animals that had come into our clinic and was put on a raw food diet, was put on adrenal support, was put on thyroid support, like actually thyroid herbal support, and then its constitutional remedy with thyroidinum, which is the homeopathics. So many of them actually reverted. So it, you know, depends on how they tested the thyroid. You know, sometimes if it can be autoimmune, right? A lot of times it's autoimmune. I've seen animals go into hypothyroidism from vaccines. I've seen them go into hypothyroidism from stress or sadness, like grief. So it's still best to work with a homeopath when it comes to treating hypothyroidism, and make sure that everything that you're doing is supportive of their immune system in general. Maybe not necessarily immune boosting, but immune modulating. And immune modulating is very, 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 very different than immune boosting. I can say why.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? I think a lot of people are confused right now with the COVID and everybody's saying, boost your immune system, boost your immune system.
Yeah. So we come from a very, even when we're doing holistic medicine, we come sometimes from too much of a conventional mindset, right? So we want our immune system to be balanced, and we want it to be strong. So if we know that our immune system is compromised and we know for sure it's low, then yeah, we want to boost our immune system. We want to keep our immune system. I like calling it being balanced and strong and resilient rather than boosting it. Because when, and with COVID too, right? They talk about it kind of going into the opposite, right? Where everything gets too stimulated. So that's why some people are talking about taking quercetin and things that help to decrease the histamine response. So when you're looking at immune modulation, if an animal has a really bad allergy, or it's got an an autoimmune disease, that's why your vet will put it on steroids. So prednisone, Venectal P, things like that, because those are immune suppressants. So when an animal is really sick with an autoimmune disease like lupus or anything like that, their immune system has been overactivated. It has been somehow diswired or rewired, where it becomes overstimulated and it starts to attack its own body. So that's why it goes on an immune suppressive. But then when it goes on to immune suppressive, it brings it down, unnaturally down. And then two things can happen. The body then becomes susceptible to bacteria because its immune system is suppressed. So it gets secondary bacterial infections, or it becomes a rebound effect. So it's like putting some tape on something that's overactive and it's like bubbling up. So if you think of of a pipe that's got a burst water pipe, and it's bubbling out, and you take duct tape, and you wrap the duct tape around. You haven't fixed the hole, you've just stopped the hole. And often what happens is this hole's actually getting bigger underneath. So immune suppressive drugs can push that down, hold that down, and then once you stop the drug, the disease rebounds and it comes back with a vengeance. And then you have to go back on and you stay in this vicious circle. So there are lots and lots of like, don't get me wrong, sometimes in life-threatening situations, you need to go on immune suppressive drugs. It's just all there is to it, or your animal needs an immune suppressive drug in order to decrease swelling in the brain, or lots of different things to save their lives in the moment. But in general, when we're thinking of autoimmune disease or a decreased, a weakened immune system, what we want to do is we want to balance it. We want to modulate it. And what a healthy immune system should be able to do is when it is attacked by something like a bacteria or a virus, it should naturally come up to defend itself with the virus. Or if something happens and gets triggered from like pollen or like allergy sort of induced, where it gets overactive, it modulates itself and it brings it back down. So there's lots of really super cool things that are immune modulating out there now. Larch is one of them. There's lots of probiotics now that have been proven to be immune modulating species or bacteria. We know that our certain bacteria in our gut will actually modulate our immune system, and that's really, really what we want to do. We want to keep our immune system modulated and not necessarily just increase it all the time. And that's the same with our dogs and our horses and our cats and ourselves.
Okay, perfect. Kim has a question. Kim wants to know, what are your thoughts on heartworm preventative, and what are effective homeopathic remedies as alternatives, and how would they be used?
So talking about immune system, I mean, I think heartworm often also falls into the category of Lyme disease. And Lyme disease is something that is really, 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 really dependent on your immune system, or your animal's immune system, or our immune system. They're opportunists, right? And when our bodies or your animal's bodies are not in key health, that's when the opportunists are able to enter the body and cause havoc. I mean, I think they believe right now, this isn't about heartworm, but heartworm can be similar. They believe that right now the average animal and person are walking around with a type of Lyme disease, viruses that we haven't even heard of, bacteria that we haven't even heard of, protozoas that we haven't even heard of, and it's like they're in us all the time, and we live synergistically with them, right? So they stay stabilized in the body because our body has the ability to suppress them or contain them or keep them less viable. But how I like to look at it is we live sort of in harmony with things that are looked at as life-threatening or super dangerous. When they become out of balance is when it gets scary and when we get really, really sick. And what is making them come out of balance are things like, it's so weird, is like flea and tick protection and heartworm protection, and toxic chemicals is what unbalances the microbiome that allows those opportunistic bacterias and like protozoals and viruses to take over. So when it comes to heartworm, what I tell people is absolutely 1,000,000% make sure that you get your facts right, right? Like, where do you live? How hot is it? Is it hot enough for heartworms to even live? Because it has to maintain a certain temperature for a length of time. How long does that last? And if you do have to have heartworm prevention, if you do have to have heartworm prevention on board, only do it in the time when heartworm is actually a concern, like a real risk. Don't the amount of animals that are on heartworm, tick, and flea medication all year long, and they don't need to be, is really, really awful. And that would be at the same time, if you have to use heartworm protection, that you're doing things to make sure that you're mitigating the side effects of the chemical, like liver support, like fulvic and humic acid, or activated charcoal, or anything that you can, in order to be sure that you're helping the body detoxify properly. And when it's heartworm season, we want to make sure that we're using things like coenzyme Q10, things that are really beneficial for heart health, right? So just look up all different kinds of herbs and make sure that that your animals are on that at the same time.
Okay, so we have a question here from Tara. It's a two-part, so I have to scroll back down. Hi, so I have a 6-month-old boxer with itchy tummy, no sticky ears, just itchy tummy. And then she wrote down here, oh, been battling with the itchy tummy since we brought her home. She's raw fed, added Atlantic kelp. She gets pork, duck, turkey, bison, and rabbit. I use natural cleaning, no fragrance. I really do not want this to get out of hand and want to nick it in the bud. What can I do?
How old did you say she was?
6 months.
She's a boxer?
Yeah. Sorry. Boxers are like Frenchies, right? They're just so prone to issues.
They have such sensitive skin on their bellies too, right? Their bellies are so, they're like little velvety, paper thin. Well, first thing I think is belly prickly looking heat. I would be looking at, yeast. I would be thinking of, making sure that she's on, again, really, really good pre and probiotics. Making sure that everything she's lying on is cotton, not like nothing synthetic, nothing that has any kind of fire retardants or anything like that on it. You can do, sometimes when it's just on their belly too, like it makes me think yeast, but it also makes me think, contact allergies if it's just on their belly. And you can do probiotic masks on their stomach. So you can take a probiotic, and then you can take kefir, or you can take an organic plain yogurt, and you mix a mask, make it into a mask, like about a cup of yogurt to, oh no, that's too much. Probably a couple tablespoons of yogurt with a teaspoon of a probiotic. Mix it together, put it on, and just leave it on them. And because what we do sometimes is, when we wash them with anything, we destroy the bacteria on the skin the same way we destroy the bacteria in the gut. So washing them or bathing them a lot can cause really, really brutal problems with the topical bacteria, or the skin microbiome becoming unbalanced, and then we actually do get microbiome issues topically. And also, if she's been vaccinated, I would seriously look at doing an anti-vaccinosis with her. If you haven't done that yet, I would definitely be looking at either Thuya or maybe Silica, depending on her personality. If she's really sweet and cuddly, then I would lean more towards Silica. If she's fairly confident and not too yielding, then I I would give her some Thuya.
Okay. So Stephanie says she's getting a puppy soon. Yay, puppies. The breeder gives puppy shots at 7 weeks, but has agreed to do what I wanted as far as vaccinations. What would be a good protocol for a puppy?
Can you say that again? She's how old is she?
The breeder gives puppy shots at 7 weeks, but has agreed to do what I want as far as vaccinations. So she's looking for a
So
protocol.
does that mean that she's not getting vaccinations then at 7 weeks?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it sounds like she would not give it to her puppy, following advice that Stephanie would give her as to what protocol she wants her to
Okay.
follow.
Well, what we did at our clinic is that we would do single monovalent vaccinations. So depending on where they lived, if people wanted to vaccinate, we would wait till 10 to 12 weeks to do the first vaccine. And we would usually do parvo unless they were, we lived, my clinic was close to some reserves. So if we knew that people were going to be walking near places that they still had distemper outbreaks, then we would do distemper first. So it really depends on where you live and what your core vaccines are. So I would do a single monovalent, which if you can even get, because I know that some places you can't get them. The simplest that they come in is a parvo distemper combo. If that's the case, then we would wait until they're 10 or 12 weeks of age. We would give one single vaccine, and then we would wait 1 month and repeat it. And then we would do a month later, we would do a titer test. And that's all we ever did. But it's depends on where you live. It depends on if you've had, major outbreaks of things. But the big thing is that you separate them. That's the number one thing. So you can find out what your core vaccines are too. Jean Dodds has a wonderful core vaccine list of what is considered core vaccines in what areas and what states, or she doesn't have provinces, but what states. And you really, really, really want to be so careful of trying to separate them, because that, in my opinion, like, I'm not a big vaccine component, or I'm not a big vaccine person, that's for sure. But my biggest issue with vaccines are combination vaccines and giving them too young and then continuing to give them. So 10 to 12 weeks, and then 2 weeks to 1 month later, probably 1 month later if you can keep them fairly isolated, and then titer them after that.
Okay, so we have Karen was very kind and posted this question for Noor, because they couldn't find the Q&A button. So Noor said, "Hi, my cat sometimes throws up bile. It seems it's when he's hungry and that his meal is late. He usually eats 4 meals a day, raw food. What would you advise? He's on probiotics. He will be 10 in July. Do you think he needs some digestive enzymes?"
I was just going to say, it sounds like he needs digestive enzymes. The digestive enzymes, or he throws up if he doesn't get fed. I wonder if he gets stressed.
Yeah, lately he says she throws up bile. It's only bile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, cats are interesting creatures. They can, they can get super. I've seen cats get really, really stressed if they're hungry, especially if they're used to have been, I don't know with this cat, but some cats that are used to being grazed, like free fed. So I've seen this a million times I worked with one of the biggest cat rescues in all of North America. I think it's called Volcra, and Vancouver Orphan Kitten Rescue. It's an incredible association, and they would rescue them, and cats that were used to eating dry kibble and it being out 24/7 so that they could go and eat whenever they wanted, even when people were feeding them 4 times a day, they would get so stressed because they couldn't see the kibble bowl, right? Like all of a sudden their food source went from being there all the time to all of a sudden my kibble's gone. And I would really try and caution people not to ever do that, like to just slowly put it down, and even just put 2 in a bowl and just even leave the bowl out there, like to really do things really slow with cats. But I would be looking at digestive enzymes. Cats get inflammatory bowel disease really, it's very, very common in cats. So pre and probiotics for sure. Larch is incredible for cats. Like larch is a really wonderful prebiotic for cats. And I know it takes a lot of work, and I don't know how long he's been fed 4 times a day, but sometimes you need to do them even more often than 4 times a day, or just make sure that he doesn't try to see why he's doing it. Like maybe try and look at, does he seem stressed? He's not eating and then throwing up. I've seen that lots and lots in cats because they gorge it, they'll eat too fast and then they'll vomit. But if he's not eating and he throws up, that would just say like bile, would be like too much acid in his system. So maybe look at your proteins. Maybe you need to be looking at a more novel protein for a while and see if that makes the difference. But definitely doing digestive enzymes, I would try that for sure.
Okay. Dorinda says, or asks, when giving probiotics, should you give breaks, or is it fine to give daily on an ongoing basis?
That's a tough one. No, it is, because I think it really, really depends on your species of probiotics that you're using and the diversity of probiotics. So rather than me saying take breaks, I would say create more diversity. So if you're not feeding at least 14 strains, 10 to 14 strains or species every single day, and you're only feeding maybe 2 or 3, that to me can be detrimental, because what you're doing is you're overpopulating a particular strain. So then you're going to unbalance the ecosystem. So if you're doing that, then what I would do instead of taking breaks, I would buy 4 or 5 different probiotics, 6 different probiotics with all different strains in them, and alternate them. So go on to, do one with 3 different strains if that's what you've got, and then go find another one with maybe 4 different strains in that one, and then go find another one with 3 or 4 different strains in those ones, and then rotate them through so that you're not feeding the same 2 or 3 probiotics every single day. I definitely think that can be detrimental, and absolutely make sure that you're feeding a prebiotic with your probiotic. That is phenomenally I can't stress how important it is that you're feeding a prebiotic with your probiotic if you're feeding a supplement probiotic.
Okay, we have a question from Ashley. She has a dog that's 6 months old, and the dog has mites, and they have not been able to get rid of them. The dog's on IMS, kibble. The vet is doing this treatment on the back of the neck to get rid of them, and it doesn't seem to be working very well. The vet said some dogs can't get rid of them, and if that's the case, they have to put the dog down. Obviously, we don't want to do that. What would you suggest?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 different types of mites, right? There's sarcoptic and there's Demodex. I'm don't know which one it is, which is a problem. Can you ask her if she knows if it's Demodex or sarcoptic mites?
Oh, I forgot I was muted. Sorry. If you could just post that there, Ashley.
I'm not sure.
I'm not
on the skin. Yeah, they all are. Okay, well, first of all, and you know, I really, really, really have to say to you that there's like this, I want this space to be so non-judgmental, right? I know that there's going to be people that are on kibble. I know there's people that are going to be on raw. I know there's people that are going to have a mix of everything. Um, but mites and mange is massively immune based, and it's massively low immunity. So if it's Demodex, Demodex is a prime example of what I was talking about with animals and people living with bacteria and species that are that everyone believes is terrible and that we have to eradicate, that we shouldn't be eradicating. Demodex is one of them. There are dogs that are walking around with yeast and Demodex, and the majority of healthy dogs are walking around with all of that stuff naturally. But when their immune system is compromised, then what happens is then those opportunistic bacterias or mites or whatever overtake the body. So when it comes to anything like that, you have to build their immune system, and you have to, for me, if he's on IMS, the first thing I would be doing is speaking with your vet and letting them know that you want to put them on a whole food diet. And even if that whole food diet is cooked food, and because your vet is like adamant that you can't go on raw, then get them on a really, really, really well balanced whole food, cooked food. Give them lots of, I really like phytoplankton. Give them some phytoplankton, make sure that they've got a very diverse pre and probiotic on board. Again, I'm just going to quickly talk about this really fast. I did a lecture on the topical microbiome, and I compared it to Yellowstone Park and the gray wolf. And when we compartmentalize our bodies, or our dogs' bodies, our horses, our cats, whatever, or nature in general, when we compartmentalize them and go, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, we run a massive risk. Because at one time, some brilliant person for Yellowstone Park thought that the gray wolf was a species that should be eradicated because of and completely terminated because of they were predators, and they were eating elk, and they were eating the deer, and they were eating whatever. So I think they shot and killed the last wolf in Yellowstone Park in the 50s, maybe. I can't, don't quote me on the dates, but whatever. Within 15 years, Yellowstone Park was almost going to be considered a natural disaster. And I think 30 years, it was almost barren. And thank God, a really, really intelligent biologist realized that the demise of Yellowstone Park started right around the last kill of the gray wolf. And when they reintroduced this predator, this dangerous species, the entire within I think 7 years to 10 years, Yellowstone Park had come back. Like, water started coming back. They started getting lizards and trees and birds, and because they just unbalanced it, just that one species unbalanced the ecosystem so much that the park almost died. Our bodies are exactly the same. Your dog's bodies are exactly the same. So when we try to eradicate yeast, or we try to eradicate bacteria, what winds up happening is we don't just eradicate it. We eradicate it, all its supporters. We eradicate all the other bacterias that fight other bacterias. We completely unbalance the ecosystem of the body, whether it's on the skin or in the body. So for mites, be very careful what you're using topically. Make sure that you're stimulating and boosting their immune system as much as you possibly can. Do not put your dog to sleep for Demodex or sarcoptic mange. Get a hold of a holistic vet, get a hold of a homeopath, and work with them, because there shouldn't be a reason why you can't get on top of that.
Okay, so we are running at about 7:45. Julie, I know you didn't want this to run too long. We have 45 questions still.
I know.
I'm going to ask one for Shelley, and then we'll see if you have time to do any more. I just wanted to say, for anybody who has product questions, I am not, we're not really talking about those here. You guys, please email questions@adoredbeast.com.
I promise you, if you email us questions about that, Kaylin, like our whole team, will get right back to you. If they need me to assist them on anything that's more specific, I'll make sure that they reach out to me, and that I'll get back to you.
All right. So Shelley has.
Please answer my question. I didn't be looking at that. I was laughing.
Shelley has a very interesting question. She says, when my dog sleeps and drools on the carpet, the drool dries a brown-red color.
Some dogs do that. I had a dog that did that, and I did every test in the book. It can be their acidity level in their gut. If there's nothing wrong with the dog, it can be a specific bacteria. Check their teeth, make sure that their poops are looking normal. Like if their poops are firm and everything, everything looks fine. Some animals' bodies their saliva will go stain brown. It is a strange thing, but it's hard to say that an animal is too acid. What you could try with that though is a digestive enzyme, because if it is that their enzymatic function isn't adequate, that they could be producing or it could be coming up into their saliva. Do you know what I mean? And then it could be staining it. But there are dogs that it does stain.
Okay. Do you have time for a couple more? Or
yeah, everybody wants to stay on for a couple more.
Yeah, well, we haven't lost anybody. We've actually gained people. So Sarah, hi Sarah. Sarah Griffiths has a question. She's like, can you talk about how IBD, SIBO, and pancreatitis in cats can be addressed with nutrition and homeopathy?
Holy man.
That's a big one.
That's an hour. That's an hour talk in itself.
Maybe we should do a special on that.
Well, Sarah, I'm actually glad you asked that, because I really do think we should do one, because I kind of address that in something called I know you're talking about cats, but I address that in something called the overcultured canine, because I'm like the probiotic queen. I've been researching probiotics for almost 22 years and gut health and stuff. But the more we're learning, what I'm realizing is the less we actually know. So probiotics and is a very small, I shouldn't say small part of it, but we still know so little about it. It's like the gut has this it's an entity within itself that supports the functioning of everything else, and the communication to everything, the communication to the brain, to the nervous system, to the hormones, to like the gut speaks and metabolizes almost everything in the body first. So they're actually saying that the gut speaks to the brain before the brain speaks to the body. So, but SIBO, inflammatory bowel disease, leaky gut syndrome, pancreatic insufficiency, it is such a gray area. They're pathologies that I dealt with a lot at my practice. And what I'm learning more and more about is that when we don't understand probiotics and gut health enough, we can actually create, by thinking that we're just doing that, we're like, I'm talking about compartmentalizing stuff again, we can create, almost create other issues. So IBD, SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, for people that don't know what SIBO is, and leaky gut, let's say, and pancreatitis, they can literally all be misfiring almost, and supporting each other in this terrible Ferris wheel. And when you treat one, you actually dismantle the other one, and then when you treat the other one, you can be dismantling the other one. So for people that are overindulgent and really wanting to work on, let's say, leaky gut syndrome or inflammatory bowel disease, and they're using probiotics that don't have enough strain, or probiotics that maybe don't have enough of a prebiotic, you can create a dysfunction where the bacteria that we want in the large intestine moves into the small intestine, and it's not supposed to be in the small intestine. And then when you give prebiotics, the prebiotics actually make the small intestinal bacteria overgrowth 1,000 times worse. But if you don't use enough prebiotics for the large intestine, and you're using probiotics, you can create leaky gut syndrome. So I think you're right, Kaylin, because that's like an hour lecture just on how would you try to identify it, how do they look differently, how do you work with them differently, and how could one thing cause another thing? Because like people think bowels, well, they're different. And I know when I was lecturing in Chicago with about EPI, that when they say that dogs that have been diagnosed with EPI and they're on the enzyme and they're balanced, and they're still having breakthrough diarrhea that gets better by antibiotics, that is actually 90% of the time those dogs have SIBO. So it actually has nothing to do with EPI, and they've developed EPI. They've developed SIBO because of their EPI. But then even when you have their EPI balanced, they have breakthrough bacteria diarrhea that is actually that gets better from antibiotics, right? So when that happens, that's a massive indication that those dogs have SIBO. And until you address the SIBO, they will continue to get diarrhea, even though their enzymes are totally balanced. So it's not the EPI at all that's causing it. So I do think it would be, Sarah, like I said, Sarah, I'm really happy that you asked me that, because I think it could be a whole hour talk on its own of how to look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna take one more, and then we'll probably stop.
Sorry. She also talked about homeopathy. When it comes to really, really severe stuff like that, and cats a lot too, because when cats get IBD, they can get pancreatitis. I feel like cats get pancreatitis. This is just my belief. I feel that cats get pancreatitis because they're so sensitive. I think a lot of cats have pancreatitis, and we don't even know that they have pancreatitis. And I think they hide it well, But I think that they get it because cats are I think a lot of cats are super stressed, more so than dogs. I think cats are chronically stressed, most of them. And they don't look like they are because they sleep all the time or whatever, but I do believe that they are. So with cats that have that sort of really vicious circle, homeopathy is brilliant because it can address and support their emotional state when they're in chronic pain and when they're in almost like a triad, right? So it's like a triangle, and everything is attached, and it can just keep going around. So I think that homeopathy, well, we know that homeopathy can address the pathology, the actual physical pathology, but it can also address the emotional stressors that come along with it. And if you can bring their stress and their cortisol levels down, you will affect their pancreas. You will affect the health of their pancreas. So I mean, for me, homeopathy is my lifeline. I don't think that anything that's sick shouldn't have homeopathy as an adjunct modality, no matter what you're doing.
We have a really quick one. I think you could probably do fairly well because we have about 4 minutes. Galaxy asked, when we take our dogs in for their yearly wellness checkup, and that's happening, well, after COVID, I guess it will be happening a lot. What tests would you recommend be done?
When they're for their yearly wellness check? Okay, so I'm going to put this onto you guys. I think it's incredibly important for animals to have yearly wellness checks. But I think it's equally as important that you guys are doing your yearly wellness checks all the time and that you stay observant. Don't expect to take an animal to a vet that hasn't seen them for a year and just be able to do tests and wellness and assess your animal completely. It's really important to pay attention, to be really conscious of what your animals are doing when they're healthy, what they're doing when they're sick. You know, how much water do they normally drink? How many times a day do they normally poo? What does their urine look like? Is it clear? Is it concentrated? What does their coat look like when it's healthy? What do they smell like? What do their ears smell like? It's important for us and you as pet parents to be as observant and mindful with your animals as you possibly can, so that you can give your vet as much information as you walk in the door, so that he can also, or she can also recommend specific tests. But depending how old they are, I love blood work. I do blood work. I did blood work on every single animal that came in for a wellness check, no matter how old they were. I loved looking at poop. I loved getting my hands right in it and making sure that I felt that from what they were eating, if the consistency was looking right. I would be doing, a thorough physical exam, depending on how old they are as they get older. Some people like doing routine ultrasounds. Once a year ultrasound. Some people do, indefinitely when they're over maybe the age of 6, doing something called the geriatric panel with a full thyroid, a thyroid panel as well. Never ever hurts to do a CPL or a pancreatic level, right? To just check, just to see what their pancreatic enzymes are at. Drawing some blood, you're there anyways, you're taking blood. And if money's not a concern, as much as you can do in blood work, the better. And make sure that you take a urine in. First urine of the day. I don't know how people can look at blood work when you don't have a supporting urinalysis. It was something that I've always really, really asked people to do. I would send cups home and explain to people how to take urine and take a if it's a dog, a steel ladle, like a soup ladle out. And that's how I got them to get their urine. Cats, you get something called Nosorb from your vet the day before, and you have to confine your cat in the morning, and you take out their litter and you put something in called Nosorb, which is they can scratch and they pee, but it doesn't absorb, and then you pour it in, back into the cup that the Nosorb came in. Make sure you get some blood, some urine with that. Okay.
We still have so many questions, Julie. We would be on here 3 hours. I'm so sorry, everybody. We would love to answer them all, but I think we have to wrap it up. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and I mean, we can try. I can't promise I would answer everything, but if people want to email us, and I'll do my best to try and, or maybe you can email me them and we can look at them and maybe group them together and post them on Facebook. Maybe something like that would work. Post some of the questions and some of the answers on Facebook, maybe that aren't really product related and stuff like we were talking about before. And don't forget, you guys, that it's so exciting that everybody's going to be on here with me. And I know there's like 67 people, but I think everybody probably who heard. Do you think, Kaylin, should I go over the list one more time?
Yeah, you'd get everybody pumped for the next session.
So this morning I heard that people that have said yes, there's more than these, but just these are exciting because you guys will all know these people. So my friend Rodney Habib, my good friend Dr. Karen Becker, Dr. Isla Fishburne, Billy Hoekman, Ian Peterson, Sarah Griffith, and I've got cancer scientists that I'm working with from Dalhousie University on canine cancer. And we just have so many incredible people that are going to be on here with me. I'm just like, feel so blessed, and I'm so excited that I can share it with you guys. So, yay!
All right. Thank you, everyone. This has been amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Someone's saying, when, don't worry, just keep an eye on our Facebook, and we'll be posting them. We're gonna actually put out a question to all you guys about times and dates. Aren't we doing something like that about asking people?
Yes.
We're doing something about we're gonna put a poll out to see if what dates and times you guys think is a good time. Oh, there we go. Moving forward, that's what we're gonna be doing. So once we get that, we're also going to be, we'll definitely be putting out when everybody's going to be on with me and who it's going to be and the dates and stuff like that. And I'm trying to find it so that I can kind of feel like I'm having tea with, Dr. Becker or Rodney or Billy or Isla or whoever. And you guys are all hanging out with us, and we're just all yapping to each other and talking and having a grand old time.
Okay, we have quite a few people responding, Julie, so we're going to give it another 20 seconds or so here and let everybody respond. Thank you so much, everybody. It's pretty evenly tied. That's incredible. It looks like maybe Thursdays are quite a preferred evening. Tuesdays or Thursdays in the evening, for sure, in the evening.
Okay, well, we'll keep all that, right? We'll wait for
Absolutely. We're going to do a poll on Facebook as well. So if you didn't have a chance to answer here, go to our Facebook page and you will see that posted.
And the only reason I'm jumping off you guys is because I always get into trouble that I go too long. Okay, stop. Everybody wants to leave now.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. God bless everybody.